Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, or Chakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is the Mayim in Atlanta, and earlier had one of the brothers in GMS Atlanta come go into Deuteronomy 22 and 28. He gave a wonderful, excellent explanation of it, and I wanted to go into more of why this is as it is. And so Deuteronomy 22 and 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. And so this is going into if a woman that's unbetrothed is found out in the field and she's taken or seized upon, there's a more aggressive term that the world uses nowadays, but let's go ahead and get that term, to lay hold on, which is Strong's H 8610 to pas, which is to catch, handle, lay hold, take hold of, to seize, and or wield, to arrest, to catch, to use skillfully, be arrested, be taken, captured. And then the Strong's definitions: to seize, chiefly to capture; wield, specifically to overlay; to use unwarrantably; to catch, to handle, to lay, to take hold on, over, stop, surely, surprise, take. And so we see the scripture, which has gotten GMS a lot of flack because people don't understand it, and because they see women as equals to men. But that is not the truth. That's not how the Lord set it up. They are helpmeets unto men. And in this case, she should have been betrothed. The father should have betrothed her to a man of understanding, and then this wouldn't have gone down in this way. And then these are the consequences for it, as Hakam was going into, that the man has to pay 50 shekels of silver, which I believe Apostle Tahar was going into, that this is about $500,000 today. So that's a very high price to seize a woman. And then he also can't put her away all the days of his life, in which she could make his life a living hell for that. But ultimately, we're not talking about this so much as people's understanding is off because of the way that this world is, in which it's been turned completely upside down. And so men don't see, or people don't see, women as a possession of the man. They don't see her as the weaker vessel, and they really don't understand that she hasn't been given wisdom, or been given knowledge through the Heavenly Father. Goes into that in Job, or wisdom. Let's get that. I think it's wisdom. Yeah, Job 39 and 17. Because the Most High hath deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. And so she is the weaker vessel. She doesn't have wisdom and understanding, but the society, which is a death culture, continues to push them up and above men. And that is a turning of things upside down. So this is Isaiah 24 and verse 1. Behold, the Lord maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turneth it upside down, and scattereth abroad the inhabitants thereof. He scattered the Israelites throughout the four corners of the earth, and has turned the world completely upside down, because we're in gross darkness. And he used the Edomites, the so-called white man, and the small hatters to do that. He used them to turn the earth upside down. And it says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. He used them to turn everything upside down, and it's through their ways and their adversity to the law, statutes, and commandments. The Lord made women beneath men, but Esau was like, nah, let's make women equal. And when you do that, this is a quote from Socrates. It says, once made equal to man, woman becomes his superior, because people default to women for their protection and for their security. And so we've got this place where they say we're all equals, but really the woman is in a superior position. Everything's still catered to her for her liking and her protection. And this has really caused a stir in the earth, because things aren't meant to be this way. Isaiah 24 and verse 5, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. All of the law, statutes, commandments are made to be void here in this land. Even the things they think they understand, like marriage, aren't actually understood. And so we have this filthy, wicked, adulterous generation, because people don't understand that sex is marriage. It's a much higher act, but we live in this culture of free love and, basically a whore culture, where the whores are allowed to have their opinions and desires boosted up to the forefront of society. And this is part of the reason this culture is dying. Family formations are in the tank, as well as birth rates are in the tank. And then if you do have births, there's to a baby mama and a baby daddy, and people aren't married, in which that's the way the Lord wanted it to be. And these women have multiple men, while a man with multiple women is actually looked down upon. Everything is broken and defiled and upside down. Verse 6, therefore hath the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. This place is going to get nuked and go down forever because of its adversity to the law, statutes, and commandments. And this curse of people not understanding is all throughout. But the Lord's ultimate curse are these nukes, which he's going to bring to this dying society, this culture of death, which is here. Let's get Jeremiah 31 and 22, because this goes into feminism and how which feminism is turning of the world upside down. It's backwards to the setup that the Lord brought, which is the Father, Yahweh, then Yahweh Shai, the Son, and then man, and then woman, and then the child. There's order to things, but this order has been turned upside down. Jeremiah 31 and 22, how long wilt thou go about, O thou backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing in the earth. A woman shall compass a man. And that came with making women equal. We just read that Socrates quote of how once made equal, a woman becomes the superior, because she's not going to lay her life down for a man. She's not going to keep the family upright and in good order. She can't. We see that with these single mother homes today. Those children are much more likely, if it's a girl in the house, she's much more likely to be a whore. If it's a son, he's much more likely to end up dead or in prison. They do far worse than a two-parent household, and they do far worse than a single father household. But for some reason, we keep lifting up and uplifting the woman when she really is nothing more than a possession. Let's get the book of Sirach 36 and verse 24. He that getteth a wife beginneth a possession. A wife really just goes into woman, and she is a possession. She's to be possessed, because she's not. She's going to run around causing chaos, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to gad abroad. They're not supposed to be out just like a man can. She can't protect herself in the same way. Or she's just going out there to be a whore. And this is going to create whoredom within your society by letting them out like this. She's a possession of the man, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest. She's a helpmeet, and she's there for the man, and she should be taking care of domestic duties and taking care of her man. And that's how she'll be most happy. That's how she'll be in her purpose, to keep her in that manner. But we let them chase careers and go off and gad abroad, and these women are actually unhappy. They're not going to admit it, but they're extremely unhappy. And because they can jump from man to man and not be in their purpose, they're completely, like, mental health wise, they're in a bad case. They're on all sorts of prescription drugs for depression, and they're in a bad position. This is not good for society. It says where no hedges, so protection, or even for protection for the man. Adultery is not punished in this society. And so there's no protection in any way. It says there the possession is spoiled. So without the law, statutes, commandments, and that hedge also goes into a man. He's the protection of a woman, the husband. And he that hath no wife will wander up and down mourning. But going into that, which we see that nowadays, there's what you call MGTOW, men going their own way, because women are so far out of order. And this is mostly Edomites that push this MGTOW, but that's from them falling into their own pit that they dug themselves. But nonetheless, you see this within society. And I imagine once this World War III starts up, there's going to be few men to really sign up for the military, because they have nothing to protect. They don't have possessions to protect, because these women in this society are not really ours. It's just, as the saying goes, it's just your turn. And she's for the streets. And so why would a man protect this society? He's got nothing to protect and uphold this society. You have to have men with wives, with something to protect, with families to protect for your society to keep going and to be in good case. But the point of this is to go into the word spoil, because that's truly what women are. They are spoils. They are possessions, and not always in a bad way. If a man gets a trade and does well in life, then he can get a wife. It's something that you work towards to get, but that's been taken away with allowing women liberty. And so men don't have anything to work for, and if they do achieve that, there's no hedge of protection for him, with adultery being punished and certain order within society being there, that his possession will still be spoiled. So it doesn't make sense to get married in this society where things are upheld in a wanton way, an undisciplined way. But the word spoil from the etymon online, and this is for a noun, which is booty. And so that's where we get the term from, because they are a spoil. Goods captured in time of war, that which is forfeit to a conqueror. And that's what happens. It says it in the scriptures, and whenever one nation or one people take over the other, that's what they take as spoil, the women, their possessions, just as much as gold and silver and whatever else is. That gets spoiled with the women, because they're a resource in order to multiply yourself. But now they're boosted up as being equal, which really makes them superiors. This is the act of ravaging, booty, spoil, from just keep on going down. But down here in the second paragraph, it says the transferred sense of that which has been acquired by special effort. And so if a man works hard his whole life, building up, developing a trade, developing a career, then he can pay the dowry to get a wife, to get a possession, or maybe his father gets it for him because he's doing well. And the father of the daughter gets to decide who she marries to, which sex is marriage. And so, but this all goes into a special effort. Even if there is just two families coming together, that's still a special effort to obtain this possession, to join these two families together, or to have a possession in which you can start a family with. And with that, you're going to be linked into society, the man, into which he's going to want to uphold society and want to further society and want to protect society if it needs protection. This is how you keep a society going, not through giving the booty liberty. And when you do, things don't go right. It's not like they are the ones producing and keeping society going. There's had to be mass effort to even put them in this position that they're in currently, with technological efforts such as birth control and other things that allow women to not just be to choose who they want to have sex with, and to choose when to have children when they shouldn't even have the choice. But also within HR and within business, there's been a lot to push women into the workforce. And you can see it's not going right for the world. Birth rates are in the toilet, as well as family formation. And families are the building blocks of a society. But getting back to the scriptures, because that was the point, to show that they should be treated as basically second-class citizens, as possessions and as spoil, because they are a possession. And if a nation took over, that's what they do. They would take them as booty. Not the men. The men will get put down. And so, again, why does it make sense for men to be in a lower position, or even an equal position to them, when they're the ones that are going to be laying their lives down to protect them. It doesn't make sense. We're going to end this here in Ecclesiastes 8 and verse 9. It says, "All this have I seen and applied my heart unto every work that is done under the sun. There is a time wherein one man ruleth over another to his own hurt." And currently, the Israelites, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, are under the Edomites, so-called white men and so-called small hatters, as well as the small hatters. And they have oppressed us and put us into this terrible position that we're in through their hardcore slavery and through legislation such as making women equal. And this was aimed at us, in which we went from having some of the highest rates of family formation to having some of the lowest rates of family formation, because feminism was aimed at us. And these different programs that required a man to be out of the house and not within the house, these have all beat us down to where we have baby mama culture, and to where women are above men, picking and choosing men off their silly interpretation of it, like height and money and these things that don't really matter, and which shoes he's wearing, just being, it's just silly to have women and their opinions boosted throughout society. But they did this even during slavery with the Willie Lynch letter, in which they wanted to build up strong women and weak men. And you do that by the ways that he explained it within that letter. But this is all turning back to normal. This is a pit that the Edomites have dug, and they are currently falling into it. And so you see them being affected with these no-fault divorces and with low family formation, with low birth rates, and the men not having anything to uphold, having a family to protect and provide for, which makes them not want to protect and provide for their society. And so once this draft comes for World War III, there's going to be a lot of men that don't want to actually be fighting and aren't going to be fighting as hard as they possibly could for their country, because this has been taken away, because this pit was dug early and for the Israelites, but it's now turning on to the Edomites. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I just wanted to go into how women really aren't equal to men, at least in the Heavenly Father's eyes. They aren't and shouldn't be. But this upside down society has it all flipped, and that's what we have. But things are about to go back into order. And so, Lord willing, that was edifying. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.